On January 5, 1931, Robert Selden Duvall was born in San Diego, California. He was raised in an environment that combined artistic inquiry with military efficiency, which helped to mold him into one of the most adaptable and subtly potent actors in American cinematic history. William Howard Duvall, his father, was a strict admiral in the U.S. Navy, a man used to hierarchy, order, and the framework of a duty-driven universe. In contrast, his mother, Mildred Virginia Hart, was from a family of thinkers and artists. Her father was a well-known congressman from Virginia, and young Robert was influenced by her sophisticated awareness of culture and storytelling. Duvall was able to develop into the kind of actor who could authentically portray both the scary authority figure and the modest everyday person, because to the combination of strict discipline and creative encouragement. Duvall felt the pull of performance early on, despite the powerful military influence at home. He pursued his passion for performing at the renowned local Playhouse School of the Theater in New York City after graduating from Principia College in Illinois. Duvall learned the grounded realism and profound emotional honesty that would come to define his career under the tutelage of the esteemed Sanford Meisner. He developed his craft with intense concentration, earning a reputation for intensity, unpredictableness, and a rejection of flimsy showmanship. He desired for each character to feel authentic, fully realized, and profoundly human, never flat or manufactured. He played his first parts in the theater industry in New York. However, his big break came in 1962 when he played the enigmatic Kind Boo Radley in To Kill a Mockingbird. Even though Duvall didn't say anything, his subdued demeanor left a lasting impression on viewers. His future was shaped by the function. To be heard, he didn't have to talk loudly. He made a huge impression without resorting to extravagant gestures. He just was, and that was enough to draw notice. Whether he was playing the cold, commanding Major Kilgore in Apocalypse Now, the man who turned I Love the Smell of Napalm in the Morning into a movie classic, or the conflicted, accommodative Tom Hagen in the Godfather series, Duvall became one of Hollywood's most reliable actors during the 1970s and 1980s. Duvall consistently delivered quiet authority, inner turmoil, and emotional depth to the screen. He frequently improved entire films simply by entering a scene because of his intensely felt, multi-layered, and rich performances. He deservedly won the Best Actor Oscar for his performance as washed-up country musician Max Sledge in Tender Mercies, 1983. His vulnerability wasn't the only thing that made this performance so impactful. It was the kindness, the modesty, and the feeling of a man working brick by brick to restore his soul. Duvall gave one of the most sympathetic, subtly heartbreaking performances ever seen on screen by inhabiting Max Sledge rather than merely playing him. In addition to his acting career, Duvall demonstrated that he was a superb storyteller in front of the camera. He wrote, directed, and performed in The Apostle, 1997, a film that demonstrated his ability to critically and honestly examine human contradictions and faith. His almost limitless creative well is demonstrated by the film's critical acclaim and subsequent Oscar nomination. Duvall maintained a remarkable level of activity as he grew older, landing notable parts in movies like The Judge, Crazy Heart, Get Low, and Open Range. He never lost the spark that made him exceptional from the start, as each part showed. He maintained the modest, down-to-earth vibe that gave audiences the impression that they weren't witnessing a performance. They were witnessing the real-life events of Robert Duvall's private life. Similar to his lengthy and diverse playing career, it was divided into multiple distinct chapters, each of which was distinguished by a unique marriage that represented his current emotional, artistic, and personal state. Long before he became well-known, he married Barbara Brent for the first time in 1964. Duvall was still a budding actor at the time, slogging through auditions, looking for significant parts, and making a name for himself in a fiercely competitive field. When he was developing his craft, choosing unorthodox parts, and gaining the reputation for authenticity and intensity that would ultimately define him, Barbara was there. Their lengthy marriage, which lasted until 1981, saw them through some of his early discoveries, and into the time when Duvall started to develop into one of the most renowned actors in Hollywood. Even though the marriage failed, it was a pivotal time in his life, the years when he discovered his artistic voice. Shortly after, in 1982, Duvall married for the second time, this time to actress Gail Youngs, who hailed from a family with strong ties to the entertainment industry. During one of the most exciting times in Duvall's career, the early to mid-1980s, when he was winning awards, taking on riskier projects, and venturing into uncharted artistic territory, their relationship developed. The couple's brief marriage to Youngs ended in 1986. However, it was a time when Duvall was negotiating stardom head-on. Their romance took place in a dynamic, creative setting. Despite its briefness, this chapter contributed to the mosaic of Duvall's intricate personal life, which was surrounded by actors, filmmakers, and the ever-present creative spirit of Hollywood. Duvall married Sharon Brophy in 1991, a dancer whose upbringing and way of life gave his life a distinct rhythm. When they got married, Duvall was already a seasoned actor with decades of experience under his belt, but his talent was still developing. Attempting to combine his love of performing with his intense personal interests, particularly his love of dance and music, by directing, producing, and taking on parts. Some of Duvall's long-standing cultural interests, such as Argentine tango, which he loved and studied extensively, naturally intersected with Sharon's world. Their marriage, which lasted until 1995, took place in an environment that was influenced by artistic movement, inventiveness, and the kind of emotional expression that dance frequently evokes. Notwithstanding its dissolution, the marriage represented yet another significant turning point in his quest to comprehend who he was and what he desired from life and love. After living alone for a few years, Duvall married Luciana Pedraza in 2005, beginning what would turn out to be his longest and most satisfying marriage. Duvall was energized and revitalized by Luciana, an Argentine actress and filmmaker who was several decades younger than him. In addition to love, their shared artistic passions helped them forge their bond, particularly their shared love of tango and Argentine culture. The two supported one another in both professional and very personal endeavors, traveled widely, and worked together on creative initiatives. In his final years, Duvall appeared to truly embrace the security, friendship, and joy that Luciana's presence brought. Their bond represented a more subdued, stable period of his life, one in which he found solace in close relationships, creative collaboration, and the basic joys of living life to the fullest and with purpose. One of the most admired performers in Hollywood history, Robert Duvall, has long been renowned for his unwavering candor and willingness to voice his opinions about the business, his co-workers, and the individuals he has collaborated with. Gene Hackman is one of the many talented actors he has starred alongside, and he has singled him out with unusual directness. In a rare open interview, Duvall once said, "I hated him more than anyone." Given that Hackman and Duvall are both considered to be polished professionals with decades of acclaimed filmmaking experience, the statement stunned both colleagues and fans. For Duvall, however, the hostility was more than just a personality conflict. It stemmed from long-standing professional annoyances and personal conflicts that arose from years of competitiveness, teamwork, and the demanding environment of movie sets. Duvall clarified that his contempt was not the result of traditional professional competition or small-time envy. Rather, it resulted from what he saw as Hackman's unwillingness or incapacity to participate in the kind of collaborative work that Duvall regarded as the most important thing. Duvall stressed that talent wasn't the issue because Hackman possesses it in abundance. It has to do with attitude. Instead of allowing the scenario to flow, I thought he purposefully made things tough on set, as if he was always attempting to dominate everyone else. Duvall, who is renowned for his meticulous and deep acting style, frequently needs room, quiet, and nuance to provide his best performances. He said that balance was upset by Hackman's presence. To Duvall, what appeared to be trivial conflicts, such as disagreements over lines, timing, or different interpretations of a character, became indications of a more serious, almost hostile personality clash. Duvall pointed out that during joint projects in the 1970s and 1980s, when both performers were at the height of their careers, their working relationship was very tense. Duvall held great admiration for Hackman's accomplishments, including his legendary roles, accolades, and Oscars. However, appreciation did not lessen Hackman's influence on the set. Duvall remarked, "I had to fight for every inch of authenticity. It felt like a tug of battle in every scenario. Yes, he was endearing off camera. However, as the cameras rolled, it appeared as though I was attempting to play poker, which I detest, while he was playing chess. Despite his direct humor, Duvall exuded fatigue from dealing with the stress that appeared to be there all the time while Hackman was around. He acknowledged that the stress had a negative impact on both his emotional health and his skills. I left some sets physically exhausted because of him, he added, sounding both frustrated and shocked that two seasoned pros could be so mismatched. Duvall's remarks were not wholly condemnatory, despite the depth of his emotions. He praised Hackman's acting prowess and his indisputable contribution to filmmaking in the same interview. Hackman's talent is undeniable, Duvall admitted. He is a legend who is deserving of all the honors and recognition he has received. But not everything is excused by genius. People can be challenging at times. And for me, Hackman embodied that challenge. The intricacy of interpersonal dynamics in Hollywood was shown by Duvall's comments. Professional respect does not always equate to personal peace, and admiration and hostility can coexist. He considered how difficult it is for performers to balance these conflicting feelings, especially when egos, creative visions, and demanding schedules clash. Duvall also proposed that two very distinct working mindsets were the cause of the conflict with Hackman. Hackman frequently used a more forceful, improvisational technique that commanded attention, in contrast to Duvall's preference for subdued observation, character absorption, and a patient, nearly imperceptible manipulation of mood. "We were like water and oil," Duvall said. "The little internal moments are what I'm all about." He is all about making a statement, making a punch, and making a proclamation. We were unable to provide each other with what we required, and it wears you down to spend every day in that reality. In retrospect, he acknowledged, he should have done a better job of comprehending Hackman's strategy. However, the friction was just too great at the time. The conflict turned into a defining characteristic of their business dealings, leaving Duvall with a lingering sense of annoyance and the open admission that he detested him beyond all others. However, there was also a hint of resignation and grim humor in Duvall's remarks. He admitted that although the conflict was important to him personally, it ultimately had little bearing on the overall picture of his career. "It's just work in the end," he remarked. "We are paid to be on camera because we are actors. However, some folks are simply unattainable for me." Among them was Hackman. "It took me a while to stop carrying that anger with me, I'll be honest. Eventually, I had to joke about it because I would have been consumed by it otherwise." As he thought back on his experience, Duvall provided a unique window into the weaknesses and annoyances of an actor who is typically praised for his calm and collected public appearance. His open admission of personal distaste for one of Hollywood's most well-known performers serves as a reminder that the work we see on film is influenced by complicated human relationships, egos, and emotions. In the end, Robert Duvall's statement regarding Gene Hackman is a fascinating look into the realities of filmmaking behind the scenes, as well as a warning. It emphasizes how personal issues may simmer and occasionally explode into blatant animosity, even among the most gifted and well-known actors. A lifetime of experience, a commitment to craft, and the honesty that has always made Duvall one of the most captivating characters in film are all reflected in his stark and unvarnished comments. He reiterated, "I hated him more than anyone, not out of embarrassment, but rather as evidence that human emotions are never completely absent, even in the lofty realm of Hollywood giants."